It was her 16th winter in Mexico. Eduardo had been gone 7½ months. She'd sold what she could, sent the money, played her hand, and still didn't know. Had they murdered the love of her life after all? Had they left her a single mother? Was everything happy and pure now gone? It was morning in the kitchen. Jane stared out the back door of the ranch house in San Miguel. And that's when she saw it. There was a skeleton out there, a walking dead man. It took a moment to register. It was Eduardo, all but unrecognizable, a suddenly old man, emaciated, skin and bones. She opened the door.
I pulled him into me and put my arms around him, and he just felt so cold. It was literally as if he was already dead, and I just started kissing him all over his cheeks. He could barely talk, he just whispered, and told me, "I love you so much."
It was as if his freedom had come at the last possible moment before death. Earlier, Jane had put doctors and a psychologist on standby for just such a moment as this. He refused them. And there by the door, as she held him in her arms, he begged her for her special banana pancakes.
He said, when I was trying to dream about what it could be like coming back if I ever was able to, I could always see you standing there at the stove and see you from the back, making my food.
Jane tried to cushion the children from the shock of what they were about to see.
So I brought him his bandana and his hat and a sweater to try to cover up his bones.
It was the morning after Fernando made his wish over his birthday cake for this very thing to happen.
I just ran and gave him a hug, and he didn't have any meat on him at all. It was just like if I was grabbing his carcass.
And there he stayed, as the old Eduardo crept back into that cadaverous body, surrounded by his children, his plates of food, and the woman who fought for him every minute of those months, who cried for him, who saved his life. Always Jane.
He followed me around a lot. He wouldn't let me out of his sight, not even to use the restroom. He wanted to follow me everywhere.
And here he is now, restored.
I hadn't seen myself in a mirror for 7½ months.
Eduardo Garcia Velseca uses an expression when he talks about life after captivity. I'm living extra hours. But in those first hours of freedom, he found it hard to stand. He could barely walk. He had lost half his body weight, weighed barely 80 pounds, and could not believe how truly awful he looked.
The first time that I saw myself against a mirror and I lifted my T-shirt, I pulled it back on immediately. I couldn't believe I looked like pure bones and skin. It was too much.
Of course, given what he'd been through, he probably shouldn't have survived at all. The doctor who finally examined him noted late-stage severe starvation, liver damage, concussion, 3 broken ribs, and severe stomach infections. But though the kidnappers told him they had injected him with tainted blood, he did not have HIV or AIDS. He hobbled around, bent and brittle, had to be supported up or down the stairs.
It's like they sucked the life out of me. They just took everything away from me.
Dead in a way. Alive but dead.
Exactly.
And yet, within those first hours and days of freedom,
he was already laughing, and it was as if, drip by drip, life was coming back into this skeleton.
kind of like the first day of the rest of your life.
Completely.
And then she'd see a cloud on his face, or sense the torment in his dreams at night. He'd suddenly be haunted again.
He would wake up repeatedly all night and just reach over and touch me just to make sure that it was really true, that I was there and that he wasn't dreaming.
At night, she'd hear him stirring, and he'd fall out of bed.
I didn't remember that I was sleeping on a bed. And still I have these flashbacks of, I'm not sure if I'm dreaming, and is this true that I'm out, or is it just a reflection of my thoughts?
And then morning would come, and with it the living nightmare. It wasn't over. The kidnappers still held their employee, were still threatening the whole family with death. And Eduardo needed to tell Jane, as he's about to tell us, the real and shocking story.